Welcome to Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez.
I'm Jose Luis Jimenez.
Today we're going to talk about the elections coming up on Tuesday. We also have the bond elections that are coming up, so we want you to be prepared and we want you to understand what's on your ballot. We have four special guests that I want to introduce now. We have Mr. Steven Flores, who is the president of the Latino Labor Leadership Council and also the president of the Communication Workers of America. Thank you for being here. Mr. Eloy Cortez, he is the vice president of the Latino Labor Leadership Council and also vice president of the International Longshoremen's Association. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And we also have Mr. Justin Fuentes. He's the school improvement officer at HISD. And then the one and only Dr. Irene Porcarello from HEC Southeast Campus, the president. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
So let's start off right off the bat. Let's talk about Obama and Mitt Romney. What's the latest on that? I read today in the Chronicle that the electoral votes are very close for Obama to win this election. He only needs one state, Ohio or West Virginia. What are your thoughts, Jose?
Well, I'm personally really interested to see how it comes out at the end of the day, and I'm more interested to see how the unions. I'm glad you guys are here to see what position it's actually going to take, because I keep hearing different unions or different organizations backing both sides of the table. So I'm all for American jobs on American soil, and I also see the benefit of things like NAFTA when it's properly implemented. But when it destroys countries and border towns, there's a major negative benefit to that too.
Well, it's going to be kind of interesting because obviously the debates have had some impact on the voters that haven't decided who they want to go for. The first debate obviously wasn't good for Obama. The second and third, some will say that it was good for Obama, depending on what side you're on. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to those independent voters. Let's talk about the unions. Obviously, they're supporting Obama. And tell me, why are they supporting Obama?
Well, because not just Obama, but all the Democrats. Just about every labor law that's in the books, and there's hundreds of them, like the child labor law, equal pay for equal work, and the overtime for after 40 hours and holidays, and all those things came from labor laws that were introduced by Democrats. I don't believe there was one labor law that was introduced by a Republican.
That's interesting because we look at all the labor laws that were passed, and even the Immigration Reform Act had a tremendous impact on the Hispanic community. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with the Hispanic vote when it comes to immigration and when it comes to labor laws. My opinion is that 65% of the Latinos will vote Democrat, and 35% are going to vote Republican based on records from Harris County. Now, I don't know what happens in other parts of the country, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with our demographic. What are your thoughts on the election?
Just as you were talking about with the debates, it's always interesting the perspectives that come out. When Obama was at the first debate, they looked at him as weak, and then when he came on strong, the second two debates, they demonized him. They made it seem like he was overly aggressive. So it doesn't matter kind of where he puts his coins. It doesn't seem like the media or anybody out there is going to really, just support him holistically.
And based on what you're saying, also you can chime in based on the higher education side of things. What kind of impact, what kind of future we're going to have with 2-year college opportunities coming up in the future based on the way we're going right now. There's been some changes that have occurred in the current presidency. How's it going to look moving forward if it continues in the same path?
Well, I think what's important here is that we need to see a continuation of a push for financial aid, also which is a big ticket item, Pell Grants, because these are the things that are going to help turn the educational processes around for our students. And especially community colleges is now becoming a common household, while before it was like the best kept secret. So if whoever holds the ground on federal aid, federal support for our students is going to be strong. Looking at some of the discussions over the weekend, I saw where it was 50-50 on Ohio. And so right now it's still a toss-up in which direction it's going to go, Republican or Democrat. So that's still to be determined a little bit maybe this week. Although they keep saying that the white vote, the Anglo vote, that Obama has lost quite a bit of votes in that direction, had more votes, male votes, Anglo votes. The previous election, and it's closed in somewhat, and so he's really having to fight for the women voters, the minority voters, Hispanic voters.
You bring up a good point. The students are going to play a big role. And as you all know, the DREAM Act, which Mr. President Obama was working hard towards, passed somewhat. And so it allowed some of those students to be able to path to citizenship or path to residency. And how does that affect the election?
Well, I think it affects quite a bit because right now many of our students have to turn, particularly in the state of Texas, to the Texas grant monies. So, a student can complete their degrees and then not receive a job at the end because you're not a U.S. citizen. So financial aid becomes critical to thousands and probably millions of those students because 55% of the students that are minority students that are entering college enter community college. And the majority of those are minority students that are coming into community college. So if you're not under in this case, the Texas Pell Grant, if you don't fall under the Texas Pell Grant funding, then you don't qualify for federal funding. And so that has a major impact, I would think so, not only in Texas, but in other states that, especially that do not have the grant funding support through the state.
So I know we have a lot of things to talk about. We only have a very, very short time. You're going to be surprised. It's going to go by real quick. So if we can bring out the topic and then see where they stand and just have the discussion. Because we have a very diverse panel today. I'm really excited to hear their personal positions, and don't wait to be called upon. If you got something to say it. All right.
Well, I'll say this is that education is power, and I believe that's why the Republican Party wants to keep Pell Grants and anything that they call some kind of gift to you that they're helping fund some kind of way through the government. Is like the 47%, as try to keep that much, a whole lot of that money down, because they don't want the people without money to get as educated as their children are getting, and because then they'll have to compete for those same jobs. We've proven, and with y'all's help, with the educators' help, not me, because I'm a union guy, and most of our people are people that haven't gone to college and that kind of deal, but they still make great livings because they belong to a union. But we still want our kids to go to universities and that kind of thing, and they become engineers and doctors and lawyers and all those other things and compete for some of those jobs that they thought were going to be granted to their kids, the people that live in the gated communities and things like that. And this America is supposed to be for all of us, and Latinos, as a matter of fact, we're here first.
And I have to agree with that as well. Our goal as a union obviously is to better the working conditions for our families. I mean, for the workers and the families, and by able to provide a good job where they can send our kids to school and, like Steve's saying, to become doctors or lawyers. I mean, they don't necessarily have to follow in the footsteps. We do tend to have second and third generation, especially in my industry. I work at the Port of Houston, and we tend to have second and third generations that continue to work there. But some of them now are starting to say, look, let me go get my education as well. We have several guys that we represent that do have college degrees, and they're trying to instill that into their children and into the next generation and the next generation. So, I mean, we're really proud of it.
Let's go ahead and talk about the issues that we're facing for the election. But before we do that, I want to make sure that the viewers understand what you all do. I know both of you represent, we have the president and the vice president of the Latino Labor Leadership Council. So tell us, what does that council do?
Well, we're hoping that we can influence Latinos to participate in the election process and to be leaders in their unions, not just to sit back and belong to the union. It's more than joining a union to making a union strong. My job as a leader is to make as many people leaders and to be able to replace me, because even though I'd like to lead our local as long as the membership would like me to, because it's something that is voted on, right? But I don't know if the good Lord is going to take me tomorrow or today on the way home. And if I can get 100 people prepared to lead the local, that's how much stronger we are. It doesn't belong to me or Eloy or none of that. It belongs to the membership, and that's the things that the membership needs to know. I tell them, prepare yourself to lead, because it may be tomorrow that you have to do it.
And in the Latino Labor Leadership Council, we're a very well diverse group. I mean, we have all types of races and genders. And we have the male and female members. We reach out to the community. And not only do we try to help out the actual union workers, but the non-union workers too, because they need to be represented too. And some of them need some education when it comes to political issues or civic issues. So we try to reach out and try to provide some services of that.
Okay. I'd like to ask actually a question across the board. We're all here representing a certain position, right?
Right.
And what I want to get from you all right now is actually your defense against all the naysayers that are out there. For example, union. If you look at some of the platforms that are out there, I've heard you guys, get demonized from here to tomorrow. You guys are destroying America. You're making people work for nothing. You get 15-minute breaks, blah, blah, blah. You hear all the bad stuff. So please take the opportunity right now to quell all those misinformed people. On the HISD side of things, I'm hearing people say all they're doing is blowing the money on engineering. They do nothing more than do kickbacks for friends all over the place. So why should we support HISD and build these campuses? Same thing with HCC. You hear all these naysayers going out there and just blasting all these things that I would safely assume are misinformed information, right? So please take this opportunity right now to address them head on.
Well, I'll jump right in. I mean, we're going to build 20 new schools. We're going to do renovations to another 18. Okay, there are not that many friends out there that we can give that many jobs to. We have a bid process that we have to go through. It is a public process. It actually happens at our board meetings, so the public can be there and to speak to it, observe what happens and how it goes. So it's a transparent process. And so those naysayers just need to learn a little bit more about exactly what we do and how we do it.
Okay, so assume I'm that naysayer right now. Tell me what I need to know.
You need to get yourself informed. You need to come to our website. You need to see the bid process, how it works. You need to come to our hearings, to come to our different board meetings. There's our general board meeting that happens in the evening. There is even a board meeting that happens the week before that, where it's just a small group and people are able to come in and speak to the board directly. So there's many opportunities that people have to put that concern out there and have it addressed.
Well, in HISD's defense, back in the day when it was a little bit more difficult to work for HISD, there was certain type of leadership. Now we have new leadership at HISD, and it has made the process transparent. And same thing goes with HEC. So those folks that want to do work at HEC or HISD, there is a process in place. They just need to follow that process. It's not who you know anymore. It's more about what you can do, what your capabilities are, for one. But the other thing is you have to have the infrastructure to make things happen. You can't say I'm going to build a $20 million school and not have the infrastructure. So there are things that are in place, and I applaud HISD and HCC for doing that. Your opinion?
Well, I want to say this. I'm a product of HISD. I went to James Bowie Elementary and in a little neighborhood. Well, it really wasn't in our neighborhood, right outside our neighborhood, but I grew up in La Juanita, which was considered like in the sticks back in them days. And then I went to Marshall, because back then, even though Marshall was, 10 or 15 miles from our neighborhood, you had to pass through other schools. They bused all the Latinos over to that school. And then I went to Jeff Davis, where I graduated from Jeff Davis High School, and even though I didn't go to college, and I was cleaning restrooms at First City National Bank as a janitor at that point in time when I was 17 and 18 years old. Now I'm the president of the Communication Workers of America and the president of the Latino Labor Leadership Council of Southeast Texas, and with the education that my school teachers provided me. And so, I mean, I don't think that's too bad. I mean, I think, I wished I had gone to college, but I didn't. And I decided to go to work for Southwestern Bell, which is now AT&T. But, that's how they got me there.
Let me remind the viewers that you can call in and participate. We have a telephone right here. So the number's on the bottom of your screen. We encourage you to call us, and we'll take your question right now. did you want to comment further on what? he
Yes,
said?
earlier you were talking about the naysayers of the unions. I think it's important for people to have to really look at the history of how we got to where we're at now. Steve earlier was talking about the labor laws and the conditions that it used to be for the workers. I think last week I was watching the History Channel and they had a segment about the men who built America. And in it, what I found that was really interesting, they were talking about, I think it was Andrew Carnegie and the steel workers and the riot that he had, and how the whole premise of the story towards the end of it was basically how he was trying to acquire his billions of dollars. And in the end, the only way he could get there was to cut the workers. I mean, they upped the production, they cut their salary by 30%, had them working 12-hour days, no benefits, And I thought that was real interesting that, he did the math, he was in different ways, but the only way he could get to that $1 billion was to cut the workers. And then they had a big riot and a big strike, and it led to led into other union movements in the early 1900s. But I think understanding the history of the unions, I think we all benefit, whether you're a union or not. I mean, you can go into a 40-hour work week. That was, basically part of the labor movement, vacations, holidays, pensions, and things of that nature.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to step in. For the bond referendum for us, it means job training, workforce opportunities. Because if you look at 85% of our workforce as we move forward requires some type of post-secondary education. So if you don't have this type of tools for training and these type of resources, then that means that you're going to be left behind. And so you're going to be left with non-degreed. And if you're non-degreed, you're earning, your ability to earn your money will be like $20,000, $30,000. But if you get yourself an AA degree, now you're moving up the scale of the economy of scales here, where now you're making more money, 40,000, and you get your bachelor's, you start moving up the economy here. So you're making a contribution to society, definitely. But part of that is to help, the buildings. You have to have the new resources, new facilities. It's either to remodeling, it's bringing in new equipment, new tools to help prepare these students for tomorrow. So if we don't meet these needs right now, this training needs, then we have to go back to the foreign countries to go out and recruit and bring others to this country, when yet we're not educating our own. So we must educate our own, and we have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and they're saying a lot about that there's so many college graduates without a job. But at the same time, they're bringing in engineers and things from other countries in here. And don't tell me that we don't have engineers that are getting educated at some of the finest schools in the world. And they're not getting an opportunity because they're bringing in someone from I'm not going to say what particular country, because they're probably getting them from more than one, but they're bringing them in for really cheap wages. So you engineers and doctors and all that other stuff, you're in competition with all these foreign countries too, not because we want to be and we want y'all to be, but I believe corporate America is a design by them to lower even your wages as an engineer or a doctor or whatever, because a lot of the doctors now, if they don't belong to some group or hospital that someone manages them, and they got to be controlled on what they make and what they pay. Now the administrators are probably making a big chunk of money, but the doctors that are working for that system, they're keeping them down. And as unions go down, remember 37% of America was organized at one time. We're down to like 7 or 6% now. So when they say unions are the problem, only 6 out of 100 people are in a union. So that means 94 are not in the union. So how can we be the problem? So how can we be the problem when just about everyone else is not in a union? So we're not driving down the wages. It's corporate America that's driving down the wages with outsourcing and all the other things that they want to do to take jobs out of the country and import even the educated people, because I believe in my heart that the college systems in America are doing a great job of educating the young people for the technology of the future. But they just ain't hiring them because we're demanding 40 or 50,000, like you said, and when they can bring these guys in from other countries for 25.
Well, let me put in a plug for Dr. Porcarillo. Dr. Porcarillo was at one time the dean, if I'm not mistaken,
Right,
the
right.
dean at what used to be called the Milby campus of Houston Community College. For those of you that don't realize it, HEC at one time was in all your local high schools in the evenings. And I was actually a product of Milby High School / HEC. And Dr. Porcarello was the dean there, and she kind of moved up. I saw her move up, and now she is the president, and she's homegrown from our community. So big hand to you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Porcarello.
Thank you very much.
Now, you wanted to jump in? I thought you nodded your
Yeah,
head.
Sure, sure. No, I mean, I'm just.
I'm sorry, we have a
please,
caller.
Please.
Let me take this call. Go ahead.
You good?
Press the button. Angelo, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, how can I help you today? What is your question?
I'd like to know if the bond elections for both HISD and Houston Community College or the community college level, if there's any funding available for training future employees in the union jobs, such
Good
as
question.
the ILA, as the gentleman represents, or with the AT&T.
It's a very good question.
Go ahead, Justin.
Well, what I was going to say before, this fits right in, just talking about the partnerships, and there are partnerships between all of us at
Yes.
this table right now. Working with HCC, we have the early colleges, which are high schools where our students can get basic associate's degrees in science or arts that will transfer into a bachelor's degree. We also have something called the Houston Innovative Learning Zones, where our students are actually getting certifications through HCC so they can jump directly into the workforce. We have things such as pharmaceutical tech, we have computer networking, we have process engineering technology.
But I think his
aviation
question is,
logistics, yes.
does the bond program actually pay for this, or are these programs already in place?
These programs are growing, but we're going to build schools that will actually enhance these programs and make them what they should be.
Okay.
Right now, they're in a classroom that isn't the way it should be right now.
So, like, how much is HISD asking for? How much money is the bond for?
$1.89 billion.
1.89 billion. Over how many years to be paid back?
It'll be paid back, I believe, in 2017. Oh, I need to check on that.
Okay.
Check on that.
Ours is,
And he may be asking about
Yes.
like apprenticeship programs.
Yeah.
and things like
1.9
that.
billion. How much of that 1.9 is going to go back to the unions and educational programs? Is that the question, right, Angelo?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well,
He has to think about it.
Enhancing
think
our
about it,
schools.
does he?
Well, I'd say this: enhancing our
Well, good answer
schools.
would be yes.
Hey, right? The right answer is yes.
Yeah, okay. The
But
answer
I
is
can.
yes.
Hello.
Well,
say something?
yes, our bond referendum is designed for land acquisition, it's for expansion, it's for new buildings, new facilities, and it's also for remodeling. But it doesn't pay directly for training. However, what it does do, though, it provides an opportunity to bring in students. And just like Justin was saying, we have SED, we have early college. We now have an opportunity to bring in like the latest, like the state-of-the-art equipment, the state-of-the-art facilities and technology to make this happen. So then we in turn have to work harder, meaning that we have to write grants, we have to go out and recruit students and bring them into the college and create all these partnerships that Justin was referring to with HISD, HCC, working together with industry, because we cannot do this alone. So that means that we have to, it says we keep Houston working. Well, we're working, the Houston Community College is working hard to make this part of our, our economy, so.
Angelo, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did, and thank you very much. I'm glad that it brought it to light, and I appreciate what y'all are doing on the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No, I wanted to add, just last week I got contacted by one of my former workers. We were talking about some of our guys. He was a longshoreman. He got his education, went back to school, and I think he's working for HISD and the Houston Community College, and he contacted me about trying to develop a mentorship for some of the high school workers and seniors and let them know what jobs are out there. Because, a lot of people just don't really know what kind of job opportunities are at the Port of Houston. Whether you're with a union or not, I mean, in the maritime industry, there's a tremendous amount of jobs, whether you're doing logistics or even if you just want to go drive a truck or something like that.
Let me just give you an example.
So we are working on
For
that.
example, talking about the jobs, we are now partnering with SED to do 400 jobs for welding. We do not have a facility right now to facilitate or to host or to be part of that student group. So what does it mean? We have to go to SED. We have to go to their facility, off location. Students will be at their location to receive the educational services, but our faculty will be going there. But if we had buildings to make this opportunity possible on campus, then we would have the facility, we'd have the equipment, we'd have everything already on campus. But right now we have to live with the fact that we have to take the students down the street, probably about 5 or 10 blocks from Southeast College, to make this happen. So for us, it gives us an opportunity to expand to the future, that if it does become workforce building for us, then we would want to include HVAC, electricity, welding, and other opportunities that we may have to expand, and again, a contribution to the workforce, because the workforce of today is blue professional, not blue collar, but blue professional.
You know what? I see some synergy here. You all have the people, and they have the programs, if you will, in place. I think you all need to meet after this and perhaps work together.
Yes.
Well, labor's backing up the bonds. Labor
they
officially
support.
position is
Correct.
that we're backing up the bonds. It means jobs for Houston. It means education for our kids, and that's important to all of us. Even though a lot of our workers don't live in Harris County or in the city, or they may live in Harris County but not in the city, we understand the importance of education. We all want our kids to be educated. That is part of the American dream that we're fighting for. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber, an electrician, or a telephone worker, or a longshoreman. There's a lot of dignity in that job. But we still want our kids to be, hopefully, if they want to be engineers or anything else that they may want to be. My daughter had a degree in business. Unfortunately, she was injured in a police chase that left her paralyzed. But that's why I'm wearing this 47%, because she's one of the 47% that Mitt Romney talked bad about, that she's just reaching out for a handout. Well, she's not reaching out for nothing. She's paralyzed.
Well, actually, regarding with the communication side, I myself, before I became a college graduate, was a college dropout, and if it wasn't for the Air Force Technical School, I wouldn't have had the career path that would continue me to get inspired to keep going for more. So I respect what y'all do, because I've done it. You know, in the holes, connecting cables in the middle of the night, and all that stuff. It's a tough job, you know. And there is a career opportunity, you know. But we look at what's going on here and the way society's going. I'm going to play devil's advocate right now. So, you know, we're looking at 1.9 billion. And how much is HCC?
425 million.
Okay, only less than half.
Yeah.
No, way less than half. So if I had to lean between one, I support both, right? But the question goes down to, why can't we pay this under regular taxes? Why do we have to keep borrowing money to keep remodeling buildings that should be remodeled under our normal taxes? How can we address that?
Well, for now, we had to reduce our budget because of the state defunding or decrease in funding by $64 million less. So we're operating with less money, and yet we have to deliver with greater process. And we're not finished. We're about ready to give up probably another 10 million or so. So for us to go in, I mean, we're trying to do a bare minimal to increase our taxes by 2 cents or 2%. So we're doing our best to increase tuition. We've tried a little bit of different things and to be creative in our pathway.
So thanks to the governor and the Republican Party, that they defunded y'all, and that so y'all having to be creative in order to raise money. So they just passed the buck to the local economy. So all you people out there that vote for those guys, you're getting taxed again anyway.
So in all fairness, there are both Democrats, Republicans, and Independents inside the House and the...
Yeah, but it wasn't the Democrats that voted for that.
Okay.
And on the HISD side, real quick,
Sure.
we still, in HISD, we still have the lowest tax rate of any school district in Harris County. So, we're leaving that at a minimal rate, and we're just looking for a little extra when we need it. It's not about just doing it every day.
Are you for the bond program?
Am I for the bond program?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not
So-
for borrowing money, though.
Okay. So everybody sitting around this table is actually for passing the bond program.
But let me clarify this.
Okay.
I'm all for having state-of-the-art facilities to learn in better conditions and have better trained and supported teachers and students. I'm not for borrowing money.
So are you going to vote yes or no?
Am I voting? I'm supporting it, yes.
You're gonna
but
support
I have
it,
to
okay.
choose between both. If I need to have a new building, I have to borrow money. If I want to start a business, you get a business loan.
But would you rather have us borrow money and give it back, or just tax you and never
Very good
give it
question.
back.
Actually, that's a good point.
Yes, sir.
Very good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. But I will tell you that it creates jobs. I mean, we're looking at $1.89 billion HISD, 400 million at HCC, and 400 million at the City of Houston, and I forget how much at the Metro, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of construction dollars. Not only is that construction dollars, but it's everything that goes along with it. So it's professional services, it's all the trades you can think
But
of.
then again, we go into this. We're borrowing money once again.
But you know what? We need to boost the economy.
Okay.
Everybody here that is without a job would love to see this pass. I know each one of us knows people that are looking for jobs right now.
But if you're paying taxes, you don't want to pay more taxes.
But to us, what it means also, right along that, is that we're contributing $2 billion over, let's say, 20 to 30 years. When we educate a young person versus, issues such as health and crime and unemployment, and so by avoiding that, we are now the students, or these are now workforce workers making a contribution. So it's a $2 billion contribution to society or to the production of agency.
Better schools, better communities.
So while we
Yes.
do this, we'll take a quick break.
We're going to take a quick break. We're here at Houston Media Source, and we'll be back in 2 minutes with Latino Talk TV. Thank you so much for joining us.
Talk about taxes.
We're going to talk about taxes.
Okay, let's stretch out.
Is it that we can help men out?
than it is the physical. Mine went as far as to have WebWatcher on my...
He's a white boy. What? You know, my wife.
Welcome back to Latino Talk TV. We have one more guest that joined us. Dr. Feelgood is here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man.
We're going to talk about taxes, and everybody loves taxes, right? No?
There's a necessity for them.
There's a necessity, that's right. So go ahead and lead us off.
All right, first question on the taxes. So let's talk about the actual bonds, and then we can get a for or against. And let's start on the HEC. We can get us into the details of what kind of impact it's going to have for us on taxes. Are we going to actually feel it in our tax bills for those that live in the HEC environment?
Well, for Houston Community College, what it means, like if you have a house, let's say for example, for $50,000, it's going to run $19 for that household. And then if you have, let's say, a $100,000 home, then for that family, it's going to be up a little $23 per year on the tax. So there will be a slight impact. But as I mentioned earlier, that there are some workforce opportunities here for training. And so again, if we get our young folks and working adults educated, then we get them into being successful and productive contributions to the society. The other thing that's also important is that if we have 1 million jobs to be added to the roll here for employment, and let's say within the next 5 to 8 years, okay, we have to prepare that workforce, because if we do not prepare that particular group that's coming into these jobs, then we're not going to have a prepared workforce to be competitive with our technological skills that they're going to require. So in the long haul, in the long hand, that we need this opportunity to educate our America for the dream, to have a dream for tomorrow.
In HISD?
With HISD, if our bond passes, when it passes, we're looking at in 2014 an average of $14.41 per household added to their tax rate for the year. And that kind of scales up as we go, getting all the way up to 2017, where it'll average at $69, just around $70 actually. So to me, not that much big of a difference for the impact that it'll have on our community.
You know, I don't think our average voter knows this information.
Right.
That's less than a full tank of gas for both of you combined.
Correct.
I mean, who does not want to donate that kind of money to improve our schools?
There are a lot of people who don't want to donate that kind of money. Why should I?
The Republicans, are you a Tea Partier?
No, I'm not a Tea Party, but why do I need to pay more when they can't manage their money right?
You have to ask the Tea Party why they're so upset.
Okay, but that's the thing. Those are the kind of conversations that are going on out there. So that's the part. That's the, you know, they're walking into the booths and they're saying they don't know how to manage their money. They're going, bro, we can't even make our ends meet.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is it's not because of the mismanagement of money. It was the defunding of all the schools, not just HISD, but schools across Texas. And I really feel sorry for the schools out in the country, because they really don't have no one. You know, the ranches are still far apart, and so there's not a giant population. And I have a place up in East Texas. It's called Linwood. They don't even have a population sign. Luckily, they did have a school at one time. They don't have a school anymore. But Alto is the closest little town that's got a school. And let me tell you, when they took a bunch of money out of that, you know, that school, they're hurting, because there's very little business for them to be able to tax, and there's not that many houses. It hasn't grown, so you know they're struggling big time. And I wish, just like anyone else, that we didn't, that all we all had to do is put a nickel in a bucket, and that would pay all the taxes to have the police and the fire department and the lights and all the things that we need that makes America great. But it takes more than a nickel.
You know, we held back from increasing our taxes in 2007, 2008, 2009. So we did 3 years without increasing our tax base. And so now we're looking at a slight increase of 2 cents for every 100, because that's what it amounts to. So we really have held the ground. We've lost money. You know, we've been defunded by $64 million. We have been real creative within our organization. We haven't dismissed anyone. So we've had to, you know, do a little bit of realignment within our organization, but it's worked for the best, because we're looking at efficiencies. And so we've been a very efficient organization. We also have saved millions of dollars in terms of our utility costs, because we went ahead and did some assessments and felt that we needed to reassess. And so we save millions of dollars right now. So we continue to do efficiency operations and surveys. And so our stakeholders said to us, we are in support for you to go out and, you know, go forth on the bond referendum.
Rob, since you weren't here before, did you support the bond program or did not support the bond program?
I support it, and one of the reasons why is because I'm getting some questions answered right here. And one of the questions that came to my mind was a lot of the surveys that are coming out say that currently there's a lot of people in the workforce and employers are complaining that they're not prepared. Mm-hmm. And so I would like to hear something from y'all because my thought is the more we open up the doors to education, the more people are going to get in. Are we diluting the quality of people that are leaving these educational facilities?
I don't think so.
No, we're not. And it is about training. For example, in the health careers, there we have room for only 1,500 students. Then yet we had 3,000 that enrolled. So we have to be creative with our hours, our facility, our scheduling. So right there, there's a need for a facility there in the health careers. Otherwise, we have other challenges, because then we're not going to have the workforce prepared to go into the science and to the math and to the health careers. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, we will then have to go outside of our country to look for the trained workforce.
Well, and if you look at the attrition rates at our colleges and universities around the United States, I think we need to start sending more people in that direction. Because if that many people are going to keep falling off, we just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, especially our Latino people.
Sure.
So there's a pipeline that we have to look at. Number one, I think over 10% of the population is going to be turning 65 every year. The baby boomers are starting to retire. So those jobs are going to start going away. That's huge. I'm only 21 again. I'm only 21.
Well, if you were 65, you look good for
Thank
65.
you.
Yeah, healthy 65.
Yeah, I must look old. But we got the population starting to retire. We're moving towards retirement, and we have a major gap because we had Generation X and Y and Z and all those that were kind of lost out there for a period of time. So we don't have the people in there to be able to take over those positions, right? So what's happening with that pipeline? Is that why we're having to go overseas to hire the doctors to be able to? I mean, I know there's a lot of the plants here are importing welders because there aren't enough certified welders here in the area.
Well,
That should be embarrassing.
Justin,
Right, but-
off your conversation, 60% of our students that enter college are developmental students. So that means then that it takes about 6 years to get our students to move up to a regular college level course. We have major responsibilities to take care of. That means then that because students are part-time, they're not full-time, they're part-time, because many of our students are single, they're single parents, they're on financial aid, they must work. So it takes 6 years to get the freshman student to a college level course.
For our
Okay.
viewers out there that don't know what development courses are, explain to them.
These are preparation classes in English, math, and reading, and many of the students that come to us are not prepared. They graduate from high school, or even if they're not high school students, they take these assessment tests when they first enter, and then they come out that they have to then have these classes to prepare them for college level courses. So many times it's because of financial issues and then personal issues at home that it takes 6 to 7 years. Imagine how frustrated you become when you don't have these skills. But if we do not do something with this population, and many of these students, at-risk students, are minority students. They're Hispanics, they're African-American students that fall in these categories of development. So that means that if we don't educate our high at-risk student population, that means then that our average earning wages within the minority communities will continue to be at the bottom. And how else can we then rise to the top? We have a challenge before us. And Dustin, you work close with us in terms of the dual credit to make that possible. So we start with the high schools to make this possible.
Dr. Pergrillo, have you seen an increase in average age for the students because a lot of people got laid off, or has it pretty much stayed the same?
No, we have. We have like a 27 years old is the average student within our student body.
And what was it before?
It was about maybe 26, 25, but it varies. It varies because dual credit comes into play quite a bit, and we have like 10,000 students that are dual credit, and these are the young high school students that are coming in. So that age will go back and forth, but our average age at HEC is about 25 to 27 years of age. I actually at Southeast have seen more young people also come to school because of the dual credit that we are so concentrated there at HCC Southeast, or throughout HCC.
They get a taste of the success and they just want more.
Right.
Yes.
It's important.
So I like to look at a little bit of history, and we got a lot of history here. Not y'all are the history, but knowledge of history. Then that came out bad. Sorry.
You can just say they're old.
No, I didn't say that. But
Couple grades.
man, I open mouth. Okay, if if we look at what has actually happened, the campuses that we're currently using that are over 20, 30 years old got built at one time. And they had to borrow money at that time to do it, right? If the buildings that we're in are built 30 years ago, it's in the 70s, 80s? In the 80s?
No,
90s?
mine
80s?
was 2003.
Your building?
Yes, our building, our first, because we had a bond election 2003. We used all the funds and we did what we were supposed to do. So we completed we're completed our assignments.
And because of the situation at the time, you couldn't really build to forecast 30 years out or 20 years out. You had to build for whatever the money could pay for at that time.
That's correct.
Okay, so now we met and exceeded the demand of the buildings at the time.
That's right.
It's business. We're just talking about straight business here. You had X amount of dollars and you can only build X amount of building. But you knew it was going to be Y. But you couldn't ask for Y because no one was going to approve it. So you had to keep kind of step building, right? This is where we're at now.
Correct. We went for a very modest bond referendum back in 2003, which was $150 million. And then we did realize, which is now 5 years, we've had a 40% increase in enrollment within the past 4 or 5 years, and we're at capacity at 92%. So, we're doing our job, so we need more facilities to continue to educate the community and educate our Houstonians.
Is HIZ in the same situation?
We're even older than that. I mean, we have some schools that were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that are still there. You look at Sterling High School, you look at Lamar High School, you look at Jeff Davis. Those have been around for 50 some odd years now. And, for us to patch up and try to get the technology into those old buildings that our students need to thrive and to do the programs that we have right now costs more money to upkeep than it will to actually build these schools and supply them with the correct infrastructure that they need. Even 100 million of our bond is actually going directly to technology upgrades. Putting wireless in our schools. We still have some schools that don't have wireless, don't have internet access in every classroom.
There was some criticism about the bond program that some of the monies went to, I believe, Lamar High School. And Milby was one of them?
Yeah, Milby's one.
And
Correct.
what was the other one?
With Jeff Davis.
Jeff Davis?
Yeah. Sterling, Walston High School, Bel Air, DeBakey, Eastwood, Fur, HSPVA. I can go down the list.
Okay, so basically we have Milby and Sam Houston. Those are the two so-called Latino schools.
Jeff Davis.
And Jeff Davis.
Jeff Davis.
Okay.
Don't believe in Jeff Davis.
That's right.
Austin
I
too.
told you I wasn't going to jump on you, but
Yeah, I got him on this side. I'm going to leave Jeff Davis out. Come on.
But there was some criticism that not enough money goes into the minority communities. I mean, let's face it, those numbers, do they reflect the community?
Say that for me again.
How many dollars percentage-wise are in the Latino community?
I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to give you a number that I don't
I'll
know.
take this one on. Tell me what campus doesn't have any Latinos in there?
Oh, precisely.
and HISD,
Precisely.
I mean,
All of them.
Come on.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, even
you can't segregate anymore by location. I mean, we're one community now. It doesn't matter where you live.
No, I worked at Lamar High School at one time, and we were almost 50% Latino there. And then they're in River Oaks.
I went to Lamar.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about the tax and the bond side of things. I'm sure there's a lot of viewers that are paying tuition, and I recently saw somebody's tuition costs for a semester that I saw that were like 2.5 times higher than when I went to school, and that wasn't, terribly long ago.
Yeah,
it was
20
like
years ago,
12 years ago. I'm wondering if you could dispel some of those myths. If we're seeing higher tuition rates, why isn't that money enough to help fund these projects that we're talking about?
Well, we haven't increased our tuition, but I think only one time within the past 5 years. But for one class for us, it costs $207. And then for 2 classes, you're talking about $400. So a full-time student ends up paying $800 per semester. We're probably one of the lowest tuition charges in the city within the other colleges located within our surrounding area. I wish not to say the names. So we continue to provide low tuition and opportunity to our community. So we're the college that has probably the lowest tuition rate within the location of the other 4 or 5 that are surrounding us. And so we've been very conservative again, very efficient with our funds. And then for us, we are now educating the community why we have the need for such facilities.
We have 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we cover some of the other topics, especially Mario Gallegos, Senator Mario Gallegos' election. Even though he is passed, he's still on the ballot. And what did you have to say about the senator? I know you all hosted a great event for the senator for his funeral.
Well, what I'd like to say about the senator, of course, he was he was a fighter for the community, and one thing for sure, you know, I went up to see him shortly after they removed life support, and one thing that he wanted us to do is to what he asked was that it comes down to this, that we need to recognize that our vote is our voice, and that it's an urgency is right now, and that freedom and democracy and workers' rights, women's rights, children's rights, my rights, your rights are at stake. And he's saying, please get out there and do what I would do and encourage people to vote. Now, this is the very first time I'm going to be able to vote for Mario because of the redistricting. Mm-hmm. And so I'm proud to have voted for him in the primary, and I'll vote for him. And I believe his spirit is right here with us today.
Yeah, so when with Mario passing, you know, it was a loss to the community. It was a loss to us in labor as well. Mm-hmm. He was a fighter for us. Mm-hmm. He fought hard for the workers' pensions. I know it's been a discussion in the state capital of people having pension. Even the Houston firefighters were at one point maybe losing, and some of the HPD guys and different workers. So he always fought for that. And not only that, but just when you talk to him, his passion just for the community, it was amazing. It was there, and he was a lifelong we call him public servant, I guess you can say, in all capacities. You know, being a Houston firefighter and a state legislator. He'd be deputy missed.
Well, he was that big voice that as what you guys were just talking about. In the previous bonds, was there a typical focus on per se Latino schools, and he was the one who made sure that it was heard, and it was heard loudly, that you know, there should be a different focus perhaps. So not having him here leaves a gap for us. Definitely.
I think he'd be screaming at us right now.
Yeah.
Yes, Mario and his family represent 100 years of history here in Houston, Texas, particularly the Magnolia Park area. That as a result of the forefathers that came to Houston to leave Mexico from the revolution wars that were taking place, that they landed here in the east side of Houston, and as a result of the Ramirez, the Gallegos, the Venturas, and many other families that were related to Mario, that helped then build upon to the future of today. So Mario's families provide for us the culture, the history, the foundation of leadership. And it's to those then that today lead, and Mario was part of that legacy, and we are so happy to be able to have experienced that legacy in Houston Community College.
Rob?
Sure. Well, I think that the key word right there is legacy, because I'm not too familiar with Senator Gallegos' work, but I know that he was a name that I saw every time elections came around. Mm-hmm. And just what I'm hearing, the words are inspiring, and we should keep that spirit alive now.
Mm-hmm. For me, I think some of my most memorable interviews that we've had here on the show was the 2 times that the senator came to visit us. And I tell you what, I got schooled in those days. I learned real quick what to say and how to say it. You know, but he was a power, and I think he continues to be a power in trying to help all the community, not just one. You know, so when you push hard at something, you don't make friends with everybody. You know, you're going to make enemies along the way, but as long as you stick true to your effort and the purpose.
I think we know that.
Yeah, we've got that plenty.
We've had, you too, we've all had plenty of battles.
Yeah, and we're going to have plenty more, and that's why we're here, because we want to educate people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and sometimes we don't take the popular road, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're going to have to earn your stripes somehow, right? Especially, I mean, the unions, I mean, you got to take a side. And I know you've had many, many, many battles. More than we put together.
Yeah.
But let me kind of educate for those of you that are not familiar with the process. If the senator is elected, the governor has an opportunity to call a special election. When that will happen, who knows? That's up to the governor. But I will tell you, there's many folks lining up if that does happen. And unfortunately, we're going to have a bloodbath. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bloodbath if there is an election for a special election for senator. What are your thoughts on that?
I pray that it's not a bloodbath. I pray that that when it's said and done, that we come together, as a community, because that's what we need to do. That's what Mario would want us to do, no matter who wins it. That we need to come together and put our differences aside, because it's not about us. It's about the people we represent.
The other thing on the ballot that you all need to be aware of is Sheriff Adrian Garcia. He's a big supporter of the show. He's been with us several times, and we hope that you all feel the same way. But Adrian has done a great job, and he's been attacked in the media. I see the billboards attacking Adrian, and it's unfortunate because his heart is in the right place. Wouldn't you agree?
I do, and I know him personally, and there's just one of the interesting things that's happening right now is that the unions are actually against the incumbent Democrat sheriff. All 4 or 5 law enforcement unions are against him, and it's now the conservative clubs that are supporting the incumbent Democrat sheriff. It's the opposite in that race, whereas in the normal conditions of politics, it's the other way around, right? But that being said, let's go down the ballot real quick on the items. We got the Metro
But
bond
before
referendum.
you leave that, make it clear that these unions, the construction unions and the ILA, and we're 100% behind
I
the
was talking
sheriff.
about law enforcement
Yeah,
unions.
the law
Yeah.
enforcement.
Okay.
You said something that rung a bell to me real quick. You said the end of the ballot. One of the things that people need to know out there is that the HCC bond, the HEISD bond are at the bottom of the ballot. So a lot of people are going in, they're punching Republican, they're punching Democrat, and they're not going down to that last pace where they need to vote for us. So just a little reminder out there for our people to make sure you stay, have patience, vote on everything. We're the last 2 on the ballot.
So go by the end of the ballot. So we've got HCC. We're asking for
425 million.
for only 425 million
Yes.
to be paid back in a long period of time,
Yes.
small increase in taxes, but we'll have dividends of returns for the community.
That's correct.
Okay. And then we have 1.9 billion for HIZ schools that will do the same thing. And we also have Metro,
And $400 million for City of Houston.
400 million for the city of Houston. So that being said, I mean, what do we want? Pass the bonds?
We need to pass. We need you to go vote. If you haven't gone to vote already, the early vote is going on right now, and the election is Tuesday, November the 6th. Is that correct? November the 6th?
Well, early voting's still going on.
It is.
So we're going to find out by the time you see us at our next show, next Monday, we will know who, actually, I take that back.
No.
We're going to be 1 day shy. Darn it. But that's okay. We're out of time.
All the candidates will be here next week.
Why don't you close out the show for us?
No, you do it. You did it good.
Thank you for joining us here at the Media Source. You're watching Latino Talk TV. We'll see you next Monday, live TV, 6 p.m.